Lui, c'est Zack Snyder, et si vous aimez
Magnificent Seven, David, Kurosawa, Franzetta, Mobius, Star Wars, video games,
alors vous allez aimer son nouveau film Rebel Moon. Et voici ses inspirations.
You know, for me, when I was growing up, of course I saw Magnificent Seven before I saw Seven Samurai because, you know, kid growing up in America, you see the Western first, you know, and it was a real shocking revelation to me that Magnificent Seven was Seven Samurai. And it did start this sort of long love affair I had with the Kurosawa films. And the thing about Kurosawa that I relate to personally is like the way the watercolors and drawings that he does for the movies, you know, that's kind of how I work. And I just think that's the ideal approach for me. I felt like I learned how to make movies sort of based on the way he does it, you know. I love Franzetta, I love artists like Mobius, all these kinds of like stories that really had lots of sex and violence and like crazy fantasy. When I was growing up, I just felt like, wow, like this is really pushing my imagination really far. And that's why I think that the fantasy element really influences Rebel Moon because it presents a world where, you know, there's magic, but there's also like hardware and sort of, you know, traditional science fiction elements. But we developed this other sort of mythological storyline, you know, with Princess Issa.
Do you know the story of the Princess Issa?
And the mother world and this whole other aspect of it that I think really, in the end, changes it from being straight sci-fi into this slight fantasy thing. And heavy metal had a lot to do with that.
Shh, one moment. I do love this part.
I'm a big fan of David, especially because he's so good at crowd composition. So difficult, you know, to shoot shots with a lot of people in them. But he was really good at painting these paintings with like huge crowds, but with the composition really points down. I think there's that painting of Napoleon at the coronation where it's a huge crowd, but it all like goes right to him. But this could easily be just like a shot of a bunch of people standing around and you wouldn't be able to, like, you can't make heads or tails of anything. But I always find him really a great inspiration when trying to make like these big compositions, you know. I think drawing and painting and kind of conceptualizing through artwork is really the only way to assure that your vision is consistent in its movement, you know what I mean? Like, because there's a very limited vocabulary to create something that no one's ever seen. How do I communicate that? And painting and drawing are really, for me, the most effective way. I don't know if we were ripping directly from video games. I mean, we're all inspired by them, and a lot of our concept artists work in both. So inevitably, I'm sure there's some crossover that happens. You can't avoid it. So I would say that, yeah, we're inspired incredibly by the craft and sort of the artistic children of the video game. You know, the video games has created all these artists because there is a huge industry of concept artists, you know, that just make these amazing paintings. I have like probably 4 guys. They're always on staff with us, you know, and I'm always just commissioning them to paint me paintings like all the time because you need to generate a lot of art to supply these worlds with environments and designs, and it never ends. So I would say the video game world has influenced the entire design of all cinema because of the relationship between the concept artists who really create in a lot of ways the images that you see in a movie and go like, that was insane. There's a very good chance that those guys are the video game guys that did that.
We're just farmers, we're not a threat. They won't just kill us, will they?
I mean, my feeling with Star Wars is that they have every kind of sword possible. Like, you can't do a sword that's not a Star Wars sword of some kind. Yeah. They even had, like, I think in Ahsoka they have that weird flame sword. Okay, well, a dark saber, lightsaber, every kind of saber. So what we tried to do was we got super technical with the way it works. And that was the best way I could think of to kind of make it our own thing. You know, because Duna's from South Korea, we really wanted to use like Korean culture to influence her character. And a lot of that was just based on historical research we did on sort of Korean warrior women, you know. That's where she kind of comes from.
What do you think they want?
Everything. Although we have a whole bunch of different uniforms that we had to create, different dress uniforms, campaign, home world, They come from mostly from Soviet era costumes. You can tell by the colors, as you can imagine. And of course, the idea was to evoke some sort of authoritarian, fascist, concept, because that's what they are. And so, so that was the goal. And, Ed looks scary in the uniform. But that's what we were going for.